All right, so underneath this part, let's go ahead and start our state. It's like the bottom left-hand side of your page, because it shouldn't take much here. What's the first thing I need to do in state? Find our x. And what is our x here? And I did not give you much context for this problem, but do I need to be any more specific than year? No, that's absolutely fine. Now, y here is, this one I should have given you a little bit more context, and then below it says, does this provide evidence there is a negative linear relationship between year and record time for the men's 800 run world records? So that gives me a little bit more context. So what is my y? But it is the what for those? Record time. Yeah, that's fine. But the one thing it doesn't include, which I don't love, is what should it have? Units. Does anybody know what those units would be? Seconds. And I know I just read the problem up here. What was really important in that? The way that it's worded, I know for a fact that I'm going to be doing a what? Test. Because it's asking me if there is evidence of. Same way we've distinguished between test and interval before. But what's the other important thing? So circle, underline, whatever, something. And it's asking about a linear relationship. So if you're dealing with this, like on AP exam, that's your cue that we're in this chapter. Linear relationship. All right, so what's my next part of state? So it's going to start with the true slope of least squared regression line. And that's all I need to put because I've just defined them. But I do have to now define my population, which is, this one's really super vague. I don't like this. And I would probably put within these years, because that's basically saying extrapolation, kind of. Or within the years might even be better. It goes by tens, but it's still between that time period, and that's fine. I thought about that, but I'm trying to shorthand things for an example problem, so we're not worried about context. Sometimes that goes against me. All right, so also in state, which if you have more room than me below here, you could write it here if you need to go to the next, to the right side. This is all we have this for. So now I have to write what? Null hypothesis, which is, so is definitely going to be beta. It's definitely going to be equals. I am testing to see if it is what? Negative. What does it mean to be negative? So because this is less than 0, that makes this. So just like before, when you guys asked this question about, well, how will I know if it's something that's not 0? It would have to give it to you very directly. So it'd be very obvious that it wanted you to test something against 0. But most of the time it's like this, and you know that it's 0 because of the negative positive relationship. And the only thing I haven't written is, and we're going to let it be what? So that works the same way, still relating here. All right, plan. What's my first part? Method. What is my method here? So now we are going to do our graphs. Now this is our example problem. There are not that many dots. I want you to go ahead and do all these graphs. I'm trying to think if I want to let. I'll convert the video to take this part out of it time-wise. Go ahead and have it on your calculator. So let's do this part together to make sure we're kind of all on the same page. So all I've got in here is list 1, list 2. So let's go through and make sure we have all our numbers right first. So how can I check really quick to make sure all of us have the right numbers? Stat calc, even more specific to this chapter, even though you're right. Stat calc 8. I want it as what versus what? List 1 versus list 2. If you do the store calc or store regression equation like you usually do, you can go ahead and do that here. And let's double check and make sure everybody's on the same page. Does this look like the same numbers that you guys were getting? Okay. So our y-intercept is 381.666. Our slope was negative 0.1408, and it gives us an r squared and an r value as well. So what I tend to do, because a lot of times like on a free response, you'd have to do a problem and like they may ask you questions about it later or something. When I do this and type my number in, I'm going to go ahead and write my equation off to the side somewhere, even though I didn't really need it for this 4-step problem. So just somewhere off to the side, I would write y hat equals 381.666 minus 0.1408x, just kind of for my sake. Because I looked it up and here's what it is. If you want to write your r and r squared, that's fine. You can always go back and look at it if you need it. But then, so I need to graph my scatter plot. So I'm going to second stat plot and graphing what? List 1 versus list 2. And it should look something like this. And I'm going to kind of do them all really quick so that I can put them on the board so that when you draw them on your paper, you're making sure you're drawing the right thing. That's going to end up being your scatter plot. What do I need to do first before I do my residuals plot? To be able to graph it. Get my predicted values. So I'm back here as... Yes, you are going to have to. That's why I'm going to go ahead and do it really quick and then give you time to graph them. What do I put in list 3? So 381.666 minus 0.1408. What? List 1, or if you used function. And then your list 4 is going to be what? List 2 minus list 3. Oops. The wrong button. And you should get something like this. When I graph this one, I'm doing second stat plot of what versus what? List 1 versus list 4.
Wait, what did you for list 4, sorry?
List 2 minus list 3. And your graph should look something like this. And when you do a histogram, you're going to do a second stat plot histogram of which list? List 4. So let's go ahead and I'll do this at the same time so I can cut it all out of the video at the same time. There's your scatter plot. There's your residuals plot. I'm going to go ahead and pull it up here of what your third graph would look like.
Do we all want to have the same labels on our axes?
Wait, hang on. This is one that maybe I want to try to mess with because it's not super great. But for the sake of let's not mess with things for right now, or let's all do it together. Those are kind of funny numbers. Let's make something easier. Let's set it to 1 point. Oh, gosh. I end up switching this to, and I'll write this up there. I started it. I'll just post it this way. I ended up changing my window like that so it looks a little bit better. But just go ahead and do your 3 graphs really quick. I'll leave this up there so you have something to reference. I'm gonna start typing on the board. Now, I didn't finish with my numbering here. I was trying to get this better. These numbers should be a little bit different. This should be more like 0.6 and 1.2. And then I should have some going negative. And I should have some numbers on my histogram too. Now, with these, when we did a histogram before on a test, what numbers did I make you put on your histogram? The last one we did where it was like a histogram was just a very small part of the test. How much did I make you label of the histogram? Like not every single X value, but like the first and the last or the first, middle, and the last. That's the kind of same thing I want you to do here. So like I did 1905, 1935, 1965, 1995. Those are equally spaced. That's fine. You don't have to write every single one. I need some values for my Y. I just haven't written those yet. Over here, I can see that my residuals go up to about 1.2. I know mine's adjusted a little bit funny. I think it should be a little bit below like that. And then I would have negatives too. So do some numbering, but it doesn't have to be perfect numbering. But I'm going to go ahead and start writing the conditions because I want to do my best to finish this. All right, so L linear, and I don't care if you write the L first. It's just for me to remember that. What am I writing here? And also, I, which is independent, 10% condition. What is my N for this problem? What do you think would be smart to put here? Something like this. Again, I took so much of the wording out of this problem that I made it hard here. They record it this many times. They've written it down this many times, that kind of thing. What's in normal? What am I writing there? Which graph am I checking? And I'm writing that it shows no what? And what did I say that I want you to actually put right here? Now make it clear that this is the one I'm pointing to. Don't just put an arrow going up. But make it, this is the one that I would rewrite here is what I'm saying. And of course I messed up with R. Which means I can't. Which is fine, we wouldn't want to. I'm going to show you this really, really quick, and I think you're going to be fine, even though we're not finishing this problem. We need to be able to do all these values, right? But we're running a what? Test. What does our calculator do for us? Run a test. So do this with me really quick. It shouldn't take 2 seconds. Stat, tests. We've gone through a lot of these, so I would start at the bottom. Which one do you think I'm going to do on this problem? Linear regression t-test. And it gives you this options. Where are my x's? List 1, where are my y's? List 2, leave my frequency the same. I have to pick my alternative, which we chose to be what? Less than. Here, you can put where you want your regression equation to be again, just like usual. Calculate. And it's going to give you this output with your test statistic value, your p-value, your degrees of freedom, and everything you would need for your linear regression equation. So in this problem, we are never going to write SE of B because it did all that process for us and never told us what it is. And that's fine. I don't think you'll have any issues finishing a problem like this because I've told you where everything is. There is a problem on the back. This is what you are going to do as homework. It is an interval instead of a test, which shouldn't make a difference because the most of what I'm checking anyway is your requirements or your conditions, and the conditions are the same. You're going to use the calculator stuff the same. If y'all have issues, then we'll go over them on Monday, though. Random does not apply again to this one.